us. Much love to everyone. Hey, Chef Seth. Hey, Rashid Parham. Hey, Good Grace. How are you doing this evening? Today is not just about gossip, guys. It's about truth. We're going to look at some trauma, take a look at trauma and power. We're going to discuss the survivors of the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We're going to talk about what they have shared with us, the survivors. They're demanding to be heard like never before. Today's topic title is Trump is not a hoax. The survivors are saying that they felt betrayed when President Trump gave Maxwell a voice while they were silenced. They say Maxwell should be locked up, which she should be locked up in a maximum security prison, not transferred to a prison camp, which is where she is now. And she should be in a situation where she's being punished for her crime, not feel like she's being privileged, because she's in a camp instead of doing time in a maximum security prison.
Exactly, guys. And again, we're going to break that down with you guys. The new Epstein Files Transparency Act, while only a sliver of the 33,000 pages have already been released, were new. And what that means, if survivors decided to push their own list of abusers, we're asking the hard questions. Will Trump release the files, or will the abusers turn on each other to save themselves? And how will the GOP and Democrats handle it if these truths explode in the public?
Mm-hmm.
This conversation, as always, is raw, messy, and of course, it's going to be real. And we're inviting you to be a part of it because the survivors deserve more than just silence.
That is true. So shout out to those of you who are joining us. Thank you for being a part of the JMB family. I see we've got Big Deal. We got William Brewer. We've got Ada that has joined us. So thank you guys for joining us. And we appreciate your support. So guys, I am your girl. Your favorite auntie, Dr. B. And I'm back along with my co-host, Broker J3. Big shout out to those of you who are joining us from New York, California, Philly, Chicago, etc. And to all of our people that are tuning in overseas. Y'all keep us going. And tonight, trust me, it's about to get heavy. We're going to keep it real and raw as usual.
All right, guys. And always, I'm your boy, your uncle, that guy, Broker J3. Shout outs to our TikTok fam, YouTubers, Bigo Live, Instagram crew, Facebook family. We appreciate you guys. Remember, drop those likes, drop those shares, and make sure you guys pay attention to our gift goals. We appreciate it. It goes a long way for us. Because we're about to dive into the Epstein Trump survivors and files and the fight for the truth.
Yes. So, one of the things that I learned today that's very disturbing to me, Broker J3, is that, I actually watched the video. It was a streaming of where Epstein, this came out about Epstein a couple of years ago, but I'm just learning of it today, and I'm sure a lot of you may have learned of it today as well. But during a deposition where they were interviewing him, there was an attorney that pressed him with graphic questions, even about his body. In other words, to prove to him that one of his victims actually spoke to the attorney. They had the victim to describe Epstein's body. Wow. And he was so offended that the attorney knew all of that about him, even some of the sex toys that he even used. They said he stormed out of the room, not just one time, but 2 times. He even got fined $800 for doing that, but he didn't care. So survivors today say they shouldn't have to be dragged through humiliating details, which that young lady had to do. Like they just doing that just so somebody can believe what they're saying. In other words, it was so graphic that the attorney felt like he couldn't believe that he was actually hearing what had happened.
You know, and that's so shocking, .B, because it's like some bad trauma happens to you, and you're the victim, but yet what's happening today is the government, including the president, is treating the abusers like they're the victims. And it's all a hoax. It's not real.
Yeah.
You know, you rather believe what the abuser says rather than the people that was actually traumatized. And at this point, you know, the survivors, they're not looking for shock value. They're looking for justice. And part of their anger, it comes from what we saw under Trump giving Ghislaine Maxwell a voice, which is absolutely ridiculous. While this woman while the women who suffered were sidelined, they was hushed. We don't want to hear from you guys. We just want to hear from the abuser, and we want to treat her with care, take her out of a maximum security prison and put her somewhere nice and cushy for a possible pardon setup.
Yeah.
You know, so the survivors said flat out that cut them deep, you know.
Yeah. And then when you think about it, one of the questions that comes to mind is for me is why all of this didn't come out 10 plus years ago. And it didn't come out because they were silenced. Everybody was keeping things hush hush. They were making deals with Jeffrey Epstein so he wouldn't, you know, they was cutting deals with him to keep him out of jail. They said at one time he had on an ankle monitor and he was still doing the same thing that he had been doing. But because of big billionaires, they were able to keep this out of the courts.
Yeah.
And these victims, not victims, I changed that.
They were threatened.
Survivors. They're called survivors because they don't
threatened.
want to be referred to as victims. They want to be survivors. They were threatened and they had no choice. And so now they have an opportunity to actually speak out and to be heard. And for the president of the United States to call what they've endured and what they continue to endure, because it's still haunting most of them, to call it a hoax or a democratic hoax is just totally ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so they're furious, the survivors, that Maxwell had been moved to a prison camp, just like a camp setting. A camp family. That's what she's doing, being accused over that. Most people that would have been accused of something like that, they would have threw away the key. They would have locked her up and threw away the key. So when they believe she belongs in a maximum security prison, and I do as well. And that's privilege for a woman who helped run the Epstein empire because of the way that they are treating her right now.
Exactly, .B, and I totally agree with you. You know, so let's break down the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Now, let's break down this bill. The Epstein Files Transparency Act was introduced by Representative Ro Khanna with Representative Thomas Massie. They co-signed this, and it demands that the DOJ, Department of Justice, the FBI, and every agency turn over the unclassified Epstein records. Hey guys, no more hiding. We need to know what's going on right now.
And then for those of you who are those real core GOP Trump supporters, this is not just a Republican thing. This is not just a Republican. Thomas Massie is a Republican. He is. So it's not just a Democrat that are pushing for the release of the files. The Republicans are as well. Remember, Thomas Massie is a Republican. But here's the kicker, guys. In the past, they've submitted over 33,000 pages. And then they turn back around and release more stuff. Guess what? Only 97% of those pages had already been public. So only 3% was new information. They keep submitting old redundant stuff. That's not full truth. That's just recycling the old files and acting like it's fresh. But guess what? People know what's going on. They know that that's not new stuff.
Exactly. And that's why people are saying this bill is needed. Because right now it feels like a cover-up. You know, survivors, advocates, even members of Congress are saying we want it all. The names, the network, the documents, not to have truths. And as one Republican said, follow the money.
Yes. Okay. Gus Tavis is joining us. Hey, Gus, how are you doing, guys? I want you guys to keep those gifts coming. We appreciate your support, and go ahead and drop us a comment drop us a line or two in the comment section. Let us know where you're from. How do you feel about the survivors coming forward, telling their sides of the story today, guys? Okay. So guess what? What do you think about this? What if Trump is forced to release the files? Do you think he's going to release the real Epstein files, or will it be watered down? What do you think? Just like what we've seen in those 33,000 pages. I want you guys to drop us your thought in the comment section.
Guys, we really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
But, through it all, those survivors are dealing with a lot right now because, like I said earlier, I think it would pain anybody to suffer through something like that and be silenced while your abuser is somewhat being praised, like they were a victim. And they even said that she was actually a part of the abuse. She wasn't just a person that was recruiting. She also was a part of the abuse. Okay. So let's get into that survivor anguish and the political fallout of it all, Doc B.
Okay, guys. So what the survivors are saying is they felt hurt. They felt betrayed that Maxwell got space to talk. In other words, the president or the attorney for the president actually interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell, but while nobody's interviewed the survivors. Isn't that backwards?
Yes.
But they were muted. That's an imbalance of power. You protecting the predators while survivors keep fighting just to be seen, and they want to be heard. And I don't blame them. I would want to share it with everyone as well, because right now it's like they're invisible.
Yeah, but you know what that is, Doc? That's political. This is a wildfire. You understand? If the files ever came out in full, Democrats and Republic both, they're going to burn.
Yeah.
Epstein's world didn't care about party colors at all. They didn't care whether you was Republican, Democrat, red, blue. They didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
He had everybody. Yeah. And when I say everybody, we're talking about elites, the very powerful billionaires, CEOs, royals, bankers, politicians, all of them was caught up in Epstein's net.
Yes, they were. So guess what? He had something on them, and you think they're going to tell, but see, what's going to happen now is somebody's going to have to break. Somebody's going to break. And when you think about it, you said, why survivors are warning. If the government won't give the truth, we'll publish our own list. And guess what? More power to them. Family, can you imagine survivors saying, we'll name the men who abused us? That's going to shake the nation to its core, because guess what? We don't have to wait for Trump to release a list of names. The survivors know who abused them.
Exactly.
They come up with their own list, and right now they're asking for anyone who's been abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to come forward and share their stories, because guess what? I can almost guarantee you some of those stories are the same predators, and they'll be able to release that list.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I think a lot of people know what happened. These powerful folks would start pointing fingers, trying to blame each other and save themselves. Republicans yelling about the Democrats are yelling about the Republicans. But the truth is, everybody's dirty in this story. Let's be real now. Everybody.
Okay, family. This is what we need you guys to do. Hey, Ella Jackson. Hey, James. Hey, how are you guys doing? Hey, Human Change. Human AR Change. I want you guys to drop those names in the comment and let me know how you feel, if these men, the billionaires, the predators, are going to turn on each other, or do you think they're going to close ranks to protect the system? Let us know in the comment section what you think they're going to do. This is an interesting topic because you have to understand and see that it's going to close in. Eventually, it has no choice but to close in if the victims are going to come out and give names, because what they were thinking that they were going to do, that they could intimidate them, or that they would be shamed that they would not want to disclose that information.
I think a little of both is going to happen. I think some of them are going to protect themselves, and some of them are going to turn on others. It's almost like, well, I didn't do that much. You know, I did a little bit, but I didn't do that much. But I know this person was all in.
Yeah. Or they may come up with an excuse or say something that maybe I didn't know that she was underage, or somebody else set it up. I didn't know. They're going to come up with all kinds of excuses, just like our president does come up with all kinds of excuses for everything.
But you know, the attorney of the survivors said that the age range of the women that were abused were between the ages of 14 to 17. 17. Mm-hmm. So keep in mind, guys, that's rape.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how you put it, you know, that's what it is. You know, I don't care who it is. What do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell, why do you think that she is in prison right now? She was convicted of sex trafficking, you know, so it's not like she's innocent. She already is a perjurer, which means she was lying, you know, under oath. So that's why I'm so surprised even now that her word means something to somebody, because in actuality, it really doesn't.
Yeah. That is so sad. That's so sad. So where does this go? We talked about what's coming in the next week or two. It may take it even a little bit longer, but we know the survivors are speaking out. So where does this end? So Broker J3, where does this all go? Justice, finally, or another cover up?
Well, Doc B, I think personally that the survivors are key. Okay, the government is dragging its feet. Period. They're not trying to release these files, and again, think about this. When your president, you know, who's mentioned all through these files, says that, you know, got to be careful of releasing these files, which is a hoax, because you don't want to hurt the wrong people. You're talking about the abusers.
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt the abusers. Politicians are scared right now.
Yes, they are.
You know, and Trump believes him calling this a hoax constantly is going to make it just that. But
he wants it to disappear.
But you can't call it a hoax when you have survivors that's talking about what they went through, not to mention the person on the verge of a pardon, Ghislaine Maxwell, in the cushy prison she got moved to. You know, why does her words matter more than the survivors?
Yeah.
But if the survivors publish their list, it could bring down careers.
Yes.
It can bring down dynasties, and it totally expose all the corruption that we can't even imagine yet. Yeah. Now, guys, you know what? That's dangerous, but very powerful.
Yeah, and the key to it is, you mentioned something when we talked about it earlier. I just want to reiterate it. The president calling this a hoax is like a slap in the face to the survivors.
It really is.
And my heart goes out to them, because they don't have the support of the president. And here's the heartbreaking question that the survivors keep asking. Do we have to relive every humiliating detail for the world to care? In other words, they got to come out publicly and speak about how they was treated just to get noticed and to be heard. Family justice shouldn't require them to bleed publicly. Their voices should be enough.
You're right, Doug B. Their voices should be. That's why I am so amazed right now in this country that we live in, America, that you have abusers that are being treated like they're victims, and the true survivors of child trafficking, you know, totally abused abused as children,
Yeah.
are being silenced or having what happened to them being called a hoax, like it's not real.
Yes. And then when I think of it, I don't have any daughters. I have boys, but I have a granddaughter who's 5 years old, getting ready to turn 5 years old. I'm thinking about her at age 14 not being developed or anything like that, and you think about a grown man with your 14-year-old daughter or granddaughter, that makes me sick on my stomach. It really does.
It's really crazy, Doc B. And guys, think about this. Especially for some of you guys that may be believing that this is all a hoax because Trump says it's a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
I want you guys to pay attention to this right here. Imagine if, like Doc B said, it was your daughter, it was your granddaughter, it was your niece, that went through this trauma as a child. Would it matter then? Would you want justice then? Just because it did not affect maybe one of your family members does not mean that it's not a real situation.
Yeah. And then for, because they're going to have to decide on the, where they got a petition first. And for the petition to go forward, they need, I think it's 216. They have all of the votes that they need. If all of the Democrats vote like they should, it says that they will need 2 additional Republican votes. And so I'm thinking to myself, I can't even believe it's even debatable how everyone would not be on board with the truth.
Yeah.
It don't matter who is going to harm. The truth should set you free. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. Still do what's right.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing, especially for some of you Republicans out there. Now think about this. Now imagine if one of your family members was a part of this, and your Republican senators didn't want to vote on getting this information out to everybody. It's almost like a slap in the face. I voted for this person to help them, to help the president conceal this information. Oh, hey, Links.
Yeah, hey, Links.
I just saw. Hey, yeah. Thank you for joining us late, but we appreciate it.
Myron, Ed, Nathan, how are you doing this evening? And Cassie, hi guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really hurts because again, like we said earlier, there are some Republicans now that are on board. So it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. Right now, we should have an overwhelming amount of votes for the release of these files and give these victims of survivors of real voice. Mm-hmm. So, Doc B.
Okay, so this is my final thoughts on it, guys. The survivors aren't asking for pity. They're not going on TV trying to get no attention, asking for pity. They're just demanding justice. They're tired of being silenced while the predators get privilege. That's exactly what's happening. They've been patient, but now they're standing in their own power, which they should. I believe their voices are going to shake this country more than any courtroom ever could. And we got to stand with them because justice delayed is justice denied. And family, we've seen enough of that already.
Exactly. And here's my final thoughts to this, Doc B. Power protects itself. And that's why the truth about Epstein has been hidden so long. But the survivors are breaking that brick wall, brick by brick.
Yes.
And I believe if they keep pushing, the names will fall, the lies will collapse, and even the people who thought they were untouchable will have to answer. Don't get it twisted. This ain't just about Epstein. It's about a system that's built to protect predators. And that system it has cracks, y'all.
It's gonna crack. It's gonna crack. So, family, that's our time for today. Thank you guys for joining us. Hey, Dream Boy, thank you for joining us. Some of you came in a little late, but we appreciate it. Hey, Marcus Johnson. Shout out to our J&B podcast crew. Those of you who've been joining us out there on Beagle Live, TikTok, we are on Fanbase, Lemonade, Instagram, Facebook, Substack, and YouTube. You keep this truth alive and talk about it. Talk about it. Share what we discuss. If you learned anything on our show, share it with your coworkers, your friends, your family. Let them know what's going on with the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Exactly. And guys, follow us everywhere at Live with J&B, as Doc B said, on all of those platforms, social media platforms. Now, again, share this, repost it.
Yes.
Keep that pressure on. But silence is the predator's best friend. Yes. So let's not be silenced. And also for our audio family out there, remember, follow us at J&B Live Podcast. You'll find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, or wherever you get your podcast enjoyment from.
Yes, thank you guys. I am your girl, your favorite auntie, Dr. B.
And I'm that guy, your boy, your uncle, Broker J3.
And as always, family, until next time,
guys, let's talk about it.
Thank you guys for joining us.